Well, welcome to the Seraphine podcast. I am Seraphine Arocha, and this is another fun episode because this is like more my jam. This is fashion, this is fun, and we're getting in the Middle Eastern scene here. My Iran clan loves the Armenian in you. So this is Elina Katsman. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited. So I have to say, I Instagram stalked you before I actually met you. So today's actually the first day I'm meeting her. It's always a little awkward because, you have these moments where you see someone and you're like, wait, this girl lives in my town? Like, this is a badass chick. And I'm looking at your fashion line and it's so interesting. So you got to tell me, just kind of give me a little background and our listeners a background about who you are and your brand.
Okay. So I'm Elina. I moved originally from Armenia. I was born in Baku City. Lived there till I was 8. I moved to United States almost 27 years ago.
Wow.
I mean, I've been here a while. I actually spent most of my life here than anywhere else. So to me, this is home,
Yeah. Do you come from a big family?
I do have like a semi-big family. Most of my family is back in Russia still. So It's kind of hard. Like I was just there last summer and it was probably the best 2 months of my life. Like I missed them so much. But I've worked retail my entire life.
Yeah.
I just love anything that has to do with clothes. Like fashion is my jam. And having our own brand now, like having our own boutique has been such a dream come true. And we just love what we do.
You're coming up on the third year, 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be the anniversary.
So 2021 March is going to be 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? So how did you kind of come up with the concept of it?
So Ember and I, so Ember's my business partner / best friend. We have known each other since 2001 is when we met at Nordstrom.
Wow.
And we've pretty much been through everything. I was in her wedding. She was in my wedding. Her husband and Ilya have been friends since they were 3 years old.
And that's your husband, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and we've always, in the back of our minds, always wanted to do this and always, had the idea of like opening up our own store. And it's just kind of came about where she was about to be laid off work. And I was like, Ember, this is the time for us to do this. Like, if we don't do it now, we will never do it. And it started in my basement. And we literally, like, up until January of 2020, we were in my basement.
That's crazy. So when you came up with the concept, it's e-commerce, right? Mm-hmm. And if you go to your website, it's
www.clothesrak.com.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And when you came up with the concept for like selecting clothes, like I'm so curious about the process, about finding the garments you like. Talk to me about how you got started.
So Ember and I have very different style, but we gravitate towards the same thing. It's kind of funny. Like we just got a shipment today and it was a coat. And I was like, no more coats. Like we cannot buy any more coats. We have to pray that it snows or something because we have so many coats on order. But we both gravitate towards like the oversized like coat look.
Yeah.
Anyway, but we both pick out the clothes. So our process is we both pick out the things that we like, and then we get together and we go through, and we both have to like something in order for us to purchase it.
All right, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I love my graphic tee, by the way. This is like so my jam. I'm all about a good graphic tee. I usually throw on like a little blazer with it because I like the bigger coats, but I wanted to show it off today. When you go and you select, like, for instance, graphic tees, like, for instance, this has got a little bit of like a throwback to the 80s. So I love that. That is so my jam. Like my dog's name is Chunk, like the Goonies. So when you go about like just graphic tees, do you guys do the same thing? Like you both have to like it?
We both have to like it. She loves like Grateful Dead, and so I love the Blondie. So we sometimes compromise and get both. So, and then just kind of make sure that we have all bases covered when we're picking out stuff. So,
what has been the most challenging thing in terms of like I would think like just buying units in the beginning, like trying to understand like how many units do you
Yes.
sell? And walk me through some of those
That's
things.
been probably, I think, the hardest and almost the easiest thing to do, because when we buy stuff, we kind of tend to be a little bit more cautious with how many units we buy. Now that we've grown and the amount, like we've grown so much in the last 6 months, we now are like, okay, yes, we need to buy a lot of that. Or I don't know if everyone can wear this, or you know what I mean? So we kind of like, now that we really know our customer.
Yeah.
That has been we're very like, our engagement with our customer is like our number one priority. So we really get to know our customer, and that's who we buy for. Like when we go to market, we were just in Dallas, we literally like look at clothes and like, okay, yes, Kim will like that, Aleli will wear that, like, you know, India will wear this. Like that's how we buy with our customer in mind. Like we don't just buy to buy. Like just because it's in style, we don't buy it. Like
No.
So to us, I'd rather be different than like everybody else. So
I agree. It's so funny because for me, I'm super picky, but I'm super loyal. And I remember when I saw the billboard that you guys had downtown, I remember seeing your faces and I'm like, okay, this looks a little too familiar, because I know the bone structure of like Middle Eastern, and I've got a little Russian in me as well. And I'm like, all right, who are these women? And you're fashionable. And in Kansas City, I feel like there's a lot of what I call kind of country chic. It's like it looks like Nashville or Dallas, but a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit more edgy, and it's hard for me because I want to support local businesses, but I also feel like there's just something that's missing. So, you know, every time people ask me where I get my stuff, I feel like an asshole because it's always, and I like boutique brands too. It's just they're in other places. So it's interesting because I asked you off camera about who your customer is. And it's wild. You have a lot from New York.
Yes.
And it makes sense.
Yeah, we have a lot. So a lot of our customers are not American, to say. I mean, you know, I don't want it to sound like in a negative way, but a lot of our customers have like a European background.
Yeah.
And I think they're just a little bit more open to the trendier, you know, vibe that we're trying to, you know. So, yeah.
Well, styling is so interesting because I feel like you have to kind of go out on a little bit of a ledge. And most people get a little in their head about their body type. They'll look at something draped on, like for instance, the way your shirt is draping on you now. I'm like, mwah. I mean, it's so hot, but it's not too much. But I see someone who would look at that and then be like, oh, my shoulders are too big, or if I have too big of a chest, and like everyone talks themselves out of it. What I think is really interesting that I've been seeing a lot now online is you can click on the picture and then you see an animation of a person wearing it, and they'll put the size of the model or whatever. Do you find that when people ask you questions about your garments, is it normally size? Is it styling? Or is it kind of all the above?
It's kind of a little bit of everything. We do try-on sessions.
Oh, cool.
For our customers. Yeah. That's been our go-to from the very beginning. Like that's how we sell our product. Like I started doing try-ons in my closet at my house. That's how we, you know, introduced the product. So now every time we drop something, we literally do a try-on session with every single thing, and then we show how to wear something 2 or 3 different ways.
Yeah.
Because for us, like we want them to buy pieces that they're actually gonna wear more than just once. Like I don't want you to buy that t-shirt and be like, oh, I'm only gonna wear it with jeans and that's it. No, you can wear it with a skirt. You can wear it over a dress. You can do so many different things with it. Yeah. So our biggest thing has been educating and giving them as much product knowledge and as much style knowledge as we possibly can to teach them how to wear their clothes.
That's so cool. So you almost do like a mini lookbook, which is so great. Another brand I really love is Dylan Lax, the jewelry line that I like, and they do the same thing. They'll give you an hour of their time. They'll literally try on the jewelry, the stacking. And then the great thing is they have a few pieces, but it's fun because you have this like virtual like shopping date.
Yes.
And it does make you feel more connected to obviously the brand, but then there is a sense of like, hey, I took your time for an hour.
Right.
And the purchasing part is like, I lean in more to purchase because I've had that hour time. Do you ever feel, is there ever a time where it's like you're just inundated? I mean, like I can only imagine because it's more of a boutique.
Yeah.
So like, do you schedule out a whole day for it? So you're like, I don't even want to.
I mean,
it's a pain in my ass. No.
I mean, it is like, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like it is. And like, I'm always working.
Wow.
Like always, even like as I was laying in bed last night and like people are still like, we ran a sale last night. So people were asking questions and like, I'm always working.
That's so wild.
I'm always working.
I love the entrepreneur brain. So where did you get the bug? Like what bit you to go, because that's ambitious. I mean, I know you had kind of a little bit of help with a friend where you're like, okay, you kind of ride each other's waves.
Yeah.
But to still be in it, like I know a lot of companies that are up for a year and a half and then they like close the doors. I mean, you must really love it. What is it?
I love it.
What do you want like 5 years from now? Do you want a storefront or do you want to keep it all e-commerce?
No, I think we want to just be online.
Yeah.
Like we love just being like our own, not having to like be a 9 to 5 or 9 to 6. You know what I mean? I'm still working. Sometimes people are like, what do you do all day? I'm like, I work like all day long. I'm so exhausted. By the time I come home to my kids and my husband, I'm exhausted, So I think 5 years from now, I'd love to just be, a well-known like boutique, so for people to like recognize the name, maybe do like pop-up shops here and there. So that's kind of like, but for the most part, just stay online and just continue to grind all day. Like I don't mind the work as long as I'm like, know that I'm growing and I'm giving my best to these customers and teaching them as much as we possibly can. I mean, I think the biggest thing is that we love to teach. Like that has been like our favorite thing, like is giving them as much information. Like we love to dress women. Like that's like my favorite thing to do is to dress you, for you to like wear our clothes and to feel good in what you're wearing, because that's so important.
What is it about our age group? I mean, I feel like late 30s and 40s, Gwyneth Paltrow, Cameron Diaz, like these are women who they kind of like woke up, like they were one thing for a while. They were these beautiful actresses. And all of a sudden they like, and even a little bit younger, like the Kristen Cavallari's and all that, they kind of like woke up and then it was like, I want to share knowledge with you.
Yeah.
I want to share with you, like for instance, with Gwyneth Paltrow, what I love about her is she's always teaching about what she's learning about, whether it's health and fitness or clothing or skincare. Then Cameron Diaz has this line with her wine, the Aveline, and I'm like, it's all organic. And I didn't know that wine had animal byproducts in it, but it's so cool about our generation of women. And maybe, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know what your mom was like, but my mom was very much, I was the oldest of 4. So she kind of like just told me like, do this, do that. But like, there was never really like an exploration of like, she would teach me things that were, I don't know, like, I have to say, like, she was always running around with me and my 4 sisters, like a chicken with her head cut off. I mean, I love you, Mom. But like at the end of the day, when I think about like teaching, I really feel like our age group is about educating each other and lifting each other up. What do you think that is?
I think like once you turn like mid-30s, 40, like once I turned 40, like I came into my own. Like I've really like just developed into like my own person. I know what I want. I know what I'm not going to be like, no, like I'm not going to, you know what I mean, put up with. My mom is actually like she's not a teacher, like she is a tailor, but she teaches, like she will teach my kids, like still like show them how to do things, so she's very like nurturing and so I've learned that from her. She has been my, like actually all of my work ethic comes from her.
That's cool.
She has been always working for as long as I know. She is like always doing something. If she's not working at Nordstrom, she like does tailoring and whatever on the side at my house, you know, at her house. So she's always been kind of the person who like would push me and my brother to do things and like to do things for ourselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's kind of been my, like, you know, my little.
I love that.
Yeah.
My mom is a teacher, so I think for her, you know, she would come back and you know, it would be more of like, you know, asking me like about my day. But like when I think about like being taught something by my mom, it's a different vibe. And now I crave like sharing information, teaching people, or learning. For me, I'm a big a learning person. So you have 2 boys. Was that like, does your boys like fashion, or are they like, mommy, like, what are you doing with all this?
So my oldest, he loves to get like, once he turned like 6, he was like, no more, you're not picking out any more of my clothes. Like, I have to go to the store with you and pick out what I'm going to wear.
I love it.
Yeah. He like has to do his hair. I mean, now he's like remote schooling, which sucks.
Oh God, I can only imagine.
But he has to do his hair in the morning. Like, mommy, I think it's time for a haircut. I mean, he is like my fashionista. Like, he is 11 years old. And then Mason, he gives 0 fucks. Like,
I love it. I love it. He's like, whatever.
He doesn't care. Like,
he's like, whatever's on the floor.
This is what you want me to wear? Okay, I'll wear it.
That's hilarious. What's your husband like? Is he a fashion person, or does he like look at you and he's like,
He used to not be.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think the more he was like, the more, I mean, we've been together for 14 years now. So like, the more we like did things together, and the more he saw, like, I would like buy him things and be like, okay, try this. And now he's like, yesterday he's like, so if you want to buy me anything, there's this camo Canada Goose jacket that I really been popping up on my Instagram feed. I'm like, what?
I love it. That's hilarious.
You want this? He's like, yeah, I really like it. And then we were like, one time we were out and he's like, I want to buy this jacket. It was like a burnt orange that Nick Jonas wore from Baldwin. And he's like, I'm going to buy it. And then he like tags Nick Jonas. I'm like,
yes,
what
I love it.
The heck? But he's awesome. Into socks. He loves dead wrappers on his Stan socks. He has a collection. This boy,
I love it. That is so cool. Yeah. So I always make the joke that my husband Kanye'd me. So like, you know, Kim Kardashian, like it's not like she didn't have, she had fashion, but like he flipped the script and he really, I can't say classed her up, but she gave her more of a minimalistic, but more, the aesthetic with her now is on point.
It's like sexy, sophisticated.
Totally. And
like, I love her style.
I do too. And I will never hate on the Kardashians. Ever.
Never. They are my favorite. I don't care.
No, I don't either. And you can judge me until it goes home. But I'm like, come on. I think the thing it's so interesting is with my husband, he just loves fashion. And he knows how, and he's a smaller man. He's not like huge and tall and big. So like he gets very, like he can get things that are cut really nice and European and it looks, And the one thing that I learned early on was to tailor my clothes because like when I didn't have a lot of money, I would buy cheaper stuff and then I would bring it to a tailor, make sure it fit. But I always dressed a little too sexy and a little too, I don't know, like I felt like a little too much. Like and that's me in general. I'm a little too much. But what I love about him is that he kind of came in, looked at my wardrobe and was like, okay, but you're a beautiful woman. Like, do you have to like put it all out there all the time? And he's like, just think if, you know, you have a suit jacket over this tank top, you know, like we get it. You got a nice body, but like, you know, and I love that about him because he does it in a way that doesn't insult me.
Right.
But every once in a while though, I'll come out and he's like, just take off one thing. You don't need all the accessories. And I'm like, but I love them. He does like the Coco Chanel thing. If you just don't let the clothes wear you. You wear the clothes and like one piece like of an accessory, take it off if you feel it's too much. But he really is. And I love that because I do believe that clothes are an expression of who you are.
Yes.
And it's fun. Is there anything else in your life that you have that is like a creative outlet for you?
No, just clothes. I mean, my other outlet is working out.
Yeah.
That's like the only other thing that I do besides work.
That's crazy, isn't it? And the boys too, and your family.
My boys, that's a given though. Like,
it's amazing too how, I don't know. I think the last time that I really felt inspired, I have to say, is like the start of COVID. I was like kind of in this rut and doing all of it. How has COVID affected your business? How has it affected the way you see your business? And then how has it affected you and your family?
So COVID actually, I would say, helped the business. Because everyone and their mother is online shopping now. Yeah. So we're like not prepared for COVID as far as like product goes. So, but we had to switch gears. Like we literally had to not buy dressy stuff and, focus our whole buying on casual sets and loungewear and cozy and slippers and you know what I mean? Stuff like that. Yeah. So because everyone was at home, now we're back into our styling and showing things that you can wear outside of your house because a lot more people are doing things. They're not as scared to leave their house anymore. So that has been good. And because I was like dying. I'm like, I just want to wear a romper. Like I don't want to wear any more cozy sets.
I know, right?
So, stuff like that. But it's been okay. Like COVID, it's as scary as it is. We've just been careful and just, going by the rules of doing whatever they,
Yeah.
But it's been okay. Like it hasn't quote unquote has really affected us in a negative way. So it just made our family definitely closer. We spent a lot of time together. I'm very family oriented to begin with. So, but just hanging out with the kids a lot more and like playing games and doing, cooking at home and doing stuff. My kids are definitely not as picky as they used to be in March. So that's always good, so it's been good.
That's so cool. Yeah. I love hearing these stories about how people have kind of, what they've done in this quarantine time period. Has there been discussions or I don't know, I like when you're in close quarters, I know with my mate that all of a sudden, like, because your business has been out of your home for a while, I can only imagine him coming home being like, honey, let me tell you what to do today. Does your husband ever put input in or does he let you run it?
So he actually does our finances. My husband is in finance. Okay. So he is very much like, he gets like, anytime we have a sale, like if it's a new customer, he'll be like, oh, do you know who that person is? Did you see that they bought something? And I'm like,
that's so cool.
He's invested. He's involved. Yes.
That's cool.
He has been our number one fan. Right. For Ember and I, like he'll be like, okay, we need to have a meeting. So like Ember and I will come in and, meet on our kitchen counter and we talk about what we need to do and what we need to focus on and what our goal should be and, how we're going to do this. So he's been very much like, and sometimes I'm like, you have to stop telling me what my goal is. I know what my goal is. Like, I know what I need to focus on. So, like, because, like, sometimes it can get...
Backseat driver comes in.
I don't. I'm like, I know. Like, Ember and I know what to do. Like, we can run a business with our eyes closed. So, but
that's hilarious.
But he's amazing.
Now, some fun questions. If I were going to go into your closet aside from your brand, what are you just like, yes, I want to know fashion designers and labels. And then I also want to know actual pieces. You mentioned the oversized coat, but I want to talk fun stuff. So
designers. my favorite pair of shoes is, two. I have a pair of black boots that I like wear to death. They're from Jimmy Choo. They're like just knee highs. They come in white too. I have both colors. Actually, I have them in 4 colors, but they're my favorite boots. I love boots. And then I just bought the most sickest pair of Gucci shoes. They're rose gold and peep toe, and they're sick.
I wish I could wear peep toe. I have hammer toe, so I wear Gucci boots. I feel like half the time I dress a little bit. I do. Usually there's like men that I like to dress like.
I like that though.
I am like the men I follow, like everyone makes fun of me because I think I bring up Jared Leto like every other day because I like his music, but I love Gucci and he's one of their ambassadors. But I love this whole thing, this like resurgence in fashion right now that is this kind of like feminine and masculine to where like we're playing with androgyny a little bit. So it's kind of cool to see men like dressing more in like longer like robe-like stuff or like even jewelry. I get off on that. I think it's pretty cool. And with women, I do like a good tailored suit. Like right now I'm trying to find like a good proper tuxedo suit. I'd love a white one. Can't ever find a white one. You can find black. Every once in a while you'll get like a white, like I have a theory one that's okay, but red. Red, I would love like a really cold red suit. And you can't find it worth a shit for women. It's like it always looks like something that you'd wear at like a office.
Yeah. No.
I'm like, no, that's
you want
not
something
happening.
Sexy.
Totally. And like really cut. But I don't know. It's interesting. The other podcast I listen to a lot too is called Pants. And it's with these two gals from the L Word. And they're hilarious because they were talking a lot about, God, what do they call it? Phony baloney fashion. So, like, I love a good hat, but I was just in Vail and like every woman had a hat on. And like, I like a big brim, but when they're like out to here and they're cocked up like
you have to. There's a certain way you wear a hat.
Totally, it blows my mind.
I'm sorry, but I hate it when like the hats shouldn't. I don't know if people like. How do you keep it on the back of your head?
The festival hat that looks like it. I don't even know.
Can you please tell me?
I know.
How?
Seriously.
How do you keep that hat on the back of your head?
It's insane. I don't even know. And it always looks like it's like a god halo or something.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know.
Just wear the hat like it's supposed to be worn on top of your head.
It's hilarious. We've got two fashionistas in the corner over here laughing with us too. I love it. It's so funny. Giovanna and Chelsea are like looking at us and we're like, what are you with this freaking hat? But it's so hilarious because I went and then my other thing that I love is disposable fashion, and people like will come up to me and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I love that. And I'm like, yeah, you probably should because I paid a lot of money for it. I mean, it's funny because there's definitely what I end up buying is I usually will go like trendy stuff, I'll go a little bit cheaper.
Yes.
And then when it comes to like staple pieces, if you have advice for people who shop your site and like to combine high end and kind of that mid-level, and then, I mean, I do. I've got some stuff that are like total throwaways because I'm like, all right, fine.
Right.
So what's your advice when you're kind of like redoing your wardrobe for, let's go into the fall to Christmas season. What would you say, like if you're going to do an edit for?
So I think I would pick like 10 pieces, like a really good pair of jeans, like something distressed and something that's non-distressed, high rise or whatever, floats your boat, a blazer, like those pieces, like you can wear over and over. I would definitely pay more money for those pieces. Okay. A white blouse, like that's my jam. I freaking love a good white blouse, a black dress. Like I think, a good pair of shoes, a good pair of boots, a good pair of stilettos. Like, I think those simple pieces you can have in your wardrobe for years and they will never go out of style.
Yeah.
You can mix and match, and then you can throw, put on a t-shirt, with them and completely have
it elevates
high,
it.
low.
Yeah. To me, I think, I've always kind of done the rule of thumb of I spend a lot of money on accessories. So like a really good belt, a good pair of shoes.
Yes.
Even my jewelry, like I try to go a little bit, like obviously not everything can be Cartier, but like, you're going to that mid-level line to where it's not like rusty or like, like that. Is it gold or is it silver? And then when I look at what I buy that's a little bit more on the low end, it's going to be more of like, I love a good concert t-shirt. I love athleisure wear with a big hoodie. But again, it's like these things kind of, you wear it and then you're like kind of over.
I think even though like since I work out a lot, like even with athleisure, I rather spend money on like the better brands like Alo Yoga and Lululemon versus buying it at Target, and because they're like, oh, well, it's cheaper. Yeah, but you wear it. If you're going to wear it every single day like I do and then wash it, it's going to last you longer over time versus wearing it, washing it, and then like 2 weeks later, you're like, oh, it has a hole in it.
Totally. Or I can see my ass in my underwear.
Totally. Like, what do you want me to do? So
Totally. It's an interesting thing because every season I kind of go through to reinventing the wheel, and I always kind of go back to these things. So with fashion and having a business, what have you found is, I mean, environmentally, one thing I've noticed with packaging is there's some brands now that I literally won't buy because there's so much packaging that come in. So when you go, when you start your own line, how does that work?
So we just, I mean, for us now, like we used to get stuff, take it out of packaging, tag it, steam it, and then we would repackage it. So now we're wasting time. You know what I mean? So now we literally we have our own bags. We just, as soon as stuff comes in, it goes into bins and gets, organized, whatever. And then just pull and it stays its own packaging. So we just put tissue to make it, nice, and that's it. It goes on its way.
That's, to me, it's
simple.
Like take out, take out all the excess.
Yes.
Because again, I appreciate the pomp and circumstance if you buy something that's really over the top.
Right.
But half the time, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like how many plastic bags and the other thing is the other thing I love about certain brands are the handwritten note, especially if you're a loyal customer.
We do that.
I love that.
We do that to our first customers. We welcome them to the tribe. So that's been good. And then we'll send a little note here and there to someone who has a birthday or whatever. So
it's all the finishing touches. I love it.
I think the one thing that we pride ourselves on is our customer service.
Yeah. I love it. Well, I wish you would see more of the Kansas City crew rocking it. I mean, it's going to be cool to see. I'm excited that I found it because, I mean, once Giovanna showed it to me, I was like, oh my God, and it's here. So it feels nice to buy locally. And I mean, I just feel like, I mean, if you could do anything right now, if you could go to, would you do a pop-up shop, or do you have anything up, coming up online that is I don't know, if I clicked on Dylan Lex every once in a while on Tuesdays, they'll do try-ons with their new merchandise. I mean, I'd love to see Kansas City have an opportunity to see more of your stuff. So
we actually do have an open house coming up October 8th, but it's going to be in our warehouse. We'll have the garage door. Our warehouse is very like a warehouse.
Yeah.
We have a big garage door that opens up. So the garage door will be open, and we'll have wine and, charcuterie boards and all of that. So we're actually doing a pop-up shop, or not a pop-up, a trunk show with a brand called Mauritius. It's a leather coat brand. So
I love that.
So we'll do that. But it's on October 8th. I think the biggest reason why our customer is not in Kansas City is because we don't have a store.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Kansas City people like to shop in a store.
Yeah, they like to try on.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. I don't think they're used to online shopping.
Yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. It's so interesting because a lot of people I'll talk to, I'm like, they'll ask me, where did you get that? And I'm like, oh, I ordered it. They're like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
Aren't you afraid of it not fitting? I'm like, you can always return.
Right. I'm like, but at some point, most people will offer size runs or size guides, and you kind of know your size, you know, I mean, unless you're whatever, but for the most part.
Take a chance.
I know.
Order. All right. I love it. Now, as we kind of go into the holiday season, and your business is doing well, is there something that you're thinking about in terms of the holidays, giving back, or when you think about your community, your kids, what kind of pulls at your heartstrings right now? Because again, if you're doing well, I mean, you seem a lot in my mindset of when I'm in abundance, then all of a sudden I want to be more involved or giving back. So
the one thing that we're doing this year, we did it last year, is we adopted families. That's my favorite thing to do. I even do that with my neighborhood. Every year we have someone who has families that they need, that are in need, or this and that, or need presents, whatever. So we always do that. And then we have a charity that we actually give our product that's from older collections, or that we have onesies and twosies. We actually give them to Dress to Success.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, so we do that. Actually, Ember used to work at Banana Republic, and she would go in and dress the ladies. That is She dresses me, actually. She picked my outfits. She always picks my outfits. She always styles me from head to toe. So that's her thing. So that's what we're going to do this year.
I love to hear that, because I think that is one of the most, I don't know, I feel it's hard, because when you're in fashion and you love beautiful things, I think the hard part is a lot of people automatically judge you, that it's like, oh, well, you know, you've got to be this superficial person who, and the other thing is allowing your line to be accessible to people who maybe would not be able to wear it, and feeling that amazing feeling of wow, I get to wear these clothes, you know?
Well, I think that's why, like, our thing, like I told you before, we had, like, I love to see people in our clothes and then how they, like, feel when they're wearing, like, the stuff that we pick out or we dress them in. So, you know, donating our product or whatever to Dress for Success is gonna just, I just can't. Yeah, I'm excited.
It's pretty cool, because you are kind of what I like to call a success story, because in terms of you coming from Armenia, I mean, during the genocide, and then you kind of building yourself up from literally from being an immigrant to now you're a citizen, right? So I mean, it's a pretty amazing story, because I can't tell you how many people come from families like my own family, to where they came over, they were forced to come over. My parents are from Iran, and you know, during the revolution, I mean, they were forced to. They loved it. They loved where they lived, and to learn a language. I mean, that's the other thing, is you taught yourself English pretty much, right?
Yep.
God, I mean, it's
6
insane. So when you have that conversation with your boys, you know, about like where mom came from, what do you think you'd like to share with them most about, like, coming to another country and having an idea and being in business? Like, what would you like them to know and learn about you?
I think the biggest thing is just not being scared to take chances. You know, not being scared and not having what you didn't have growing up kind of like pull you away from the opportunities that are going to be in front of you. You know, like sometimes people like take that victim mentality, you know, like, oh, I went through this and this is what okay, well, you just need to learn from it and just to figure out what you need to do in order to, you know, be successful or own a business or work hard. I mean, you don't necessarily have to be, you know, own a business to be successful. You can, you know, my husband works for UMB, like, you know, he's very successful. So it's what you do with the opportunities that are given to you. You either take them and go, you know, and run with them, or you just kind of look at them and say, well, maybe, I don't know, you know. So it just depends. I think for me, just not being scared, like just taking what you have in front of you and going for it.
What's your advice to entrepreneurs or people who are looking at trying to start a business during this time in COVID? Do you have any kind of, I don't know, just take backs, or like, no, these are the things that you should have sorted out first before you go into a venture? Maybe let's be more specific of selling something.
I think you need to know your niche. Like, you need to know your what are you going to be, what do you want to be known for? You know, how is it going to be different from Betty down the street? You know, so I think that's the number one advice that I would see to tell people. Like, you need to know what it is that's going to differentiate you from other people. And then just, again, like, I think a lot of people are scared. Like, a lot of people are scared to take the opportunity and just go for it. You know, for us, literally, we decided to do this in 2 weeks. I called Ember. I'm like, listen, you're going to put in money. I'm going to put in money. We're going to use that money and we're going to get the product. I'm going to build a website. I literally Googled on how to do the website on Shopify.
No way.
I did my own thing the entire, like, literally.
That's insane.
I was on the phone with Shopify hours.
Yeah.
Like, learning and doing. And then we just went for it. We just started on Instagram and it just kind of grew from there. But I think you're just going for it. Like, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. What do you have to lose? Nothing.
Yeah.
You know, so
I love hearing this. And I feel like, more than ever now, I'm so excited to go, and I've been diving into my community here in Kansas City because I've been one of the harshest critics. I've been like, I just always feel like, that there's not enough. And it's crazy because there are a lot of people doing incredible things. Yes. And I think where we get lost in the mix, is we get lost in our jobs, we get lost in our family, and we get lost in repetition and that kind of, what do you want to say? Your cycle, your pattern, you don't break the cycle. Right. And to me, it's about asking questions and knowing who knows who, where did you get that? Like not being shy to be like, okay, how did you do that? Or where did you buy that? And we don't, and I think now more than ever being closed in, it's so important through social media, it's things like this to where we can sit down and actually have a conversation, give it to a mass audience. Where do you think the future is in fashion? Where do you see?
I hope that people are a little bit more open-minded, and not being scared to try new things. Yeah. Just kind of getting out of their comfort zone a little bit.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. And again, I feel like people need to take more risks. Yeah. We're in a risky time.
I know.
So
just
why
do
not
it.
take
you
the roll?
have nothing to lose.
I love it. It's good advice because I do think, and you've only got one body. You got it once, so you might as well adorn it in some cool shit.
100%.
Well, as we close up today, I just kind of will throw it back to you where people can find you on Instagram, your shop, anything that they can.
So our Instagram is the Clothes Rak. Rak is spelled R-A-K. We want it to be different. And theclothesrak.com.
All right.
Yeah.
And on Instagram, do you have
my personal is Elinas55 SS55.
I love it. Well, please follow. If you liked this episode, please like and subscribe to the Seraphine podcast. And as always, I thank you for watching and viewing, and we'll see you on the other side.